is having a fantastic day. We're going to give it a couple of seconds so everybody can hop on live. We have a very good one today. So let's just let make sure our audio is working. Comment down in the chat if you can hear us okay. We've had some mic issues in the past, but I think we've got them figured out now. Joseph, how's it going?
Going well, man. Going well. Just bouncing back from being up the last several nights. I've been at the office pretty late.
Mm.
And so yeah, just getting the brain and the juices back going again, to be honest with you. But I'm awake, I'm alive here at 9:30 p.m. and ready to talk about what we have to talk about today.
I love it. I love it. So if our
How about yourself?
pregame was any indication of what our podcast is going to be, it's going to be our best one yet. So
Shall
we'll
be
see how that
interesting.
goes.
Shall be interesting.
I like that. All righty. So we're going to go ahead and get going. I think we're live everywhere where we need to be. If not, then we at least have the recording so we can upload it. So let's get going. Welcome to the Agent Resource Podcast, episode 49. Today, we're looking at the top ways real estate agents fail. We've talked about all the different ways that you can succeed, but we also need to talk about the other side of the equation. What are some common ways that you are failing as a real estate agent? Now, don't take this personally unless you need to hear it. This is more from personal experience. This is from us working with thousands of agents on a one-on-one level every single year. So there are some commonalities. As same way that success leaves clues, so does failure. So we understand that in real estate, the failure rate is incredibly high. Very few people, very few agents make it past year 3. So in fact, the failure rate is, I believe it's around 85% by the time that you get to the third year. So I think that that's right around where I've seen that statistic. It floats around here and there. But with that being said, let's hit one quick reset. Joseph, what's going on? How's Singapore?
Singapore's good, man. It's like I said, I think it's 9:30 here, and it's still 84 degrees. This is every single night, guys. So if you do plan to live in Singapore, move to Singapore at some point in time, whenever things open back up, or visit, just know, don't bring any long sleeve clothes, don't bring any pants. Also, the humidity is usually about 80 to 85 and above. So bring a fan. If you're going to wear a hat, bring a hat with a fan on it blowing on your face, because it's nice and toasty from the time that you get up to the time you go to sleep. But other than that, the country is fantastic and beautiful.
I love it. Did you know
Yeah.
that going in?
I knew nothing about Singapore. Most people don't know anything about Singapore. I think it's gotten a lot of news recently because a lot of rappers have been rapping about it, which is sometimes how we hear our news somehow, some way. But yeah, it's been a lot of songs in the last couple of years, and that was after we moved here, or that could have been one of those. I can't think of what it's called. Whenever you see a thing that you own, like if you buy a car, you see that car
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah,
It could
yeah.
have been that
So
we were here, and
taking
then I
our
started hearing it more.
activating system. I have something
Yeah.
like that.
But no, I knew nothing about Singapore before we moved here, except it was a really safe country, and it's like one of the financial hubs of Asia.
Yeah, I knew it was a very prosperous city for a few years. And I think that there was actually, no, I know there was a case study between when I was doing my MBA program. I know it's off topic, but I think everybody wants to hear this.
Money.
Back when I was doing my MBA program, I did it in Mexico City for the first year. And
Hmm.
the case study was between Singapore and Mexico in how Singapore just continued to rise in terms of economy, wealth, prosperity, all that fun stuff
Yeah.
with similar style resources that Mexico has, even though Mexico has an abundance of natural resources, so much stuff, except it kind of went
Yeah.
completely inverted. For those in the podcast, I'm alluding to Singapore rising and then Mexico falling through corruption, drugs, all that fun stuff, with
Yeah.
similar starting points in terms of resources and all that fun stuff. So I knew it from that context, but nothing beyond
Yeah.
that.
They've done a great job of utilizing what money and finances that they had, because they don't have natural resources technically. Actually, they don't everything. I think it's like 85 or 90% of everything, maybe higher, everything is imported, right?
Mm,
And so if you think about it from that context, a country that has just about everything imported to be as successful as it is quite mind blowing. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I live in one of the richest countries in the world, basically, and it's a small little island.
A
Yeah.
So y'all didn't think y'all were gonna get that, huh? So welcome to the Agent Resource Podcast, where we talk not politics, world economics.
There you go.
So
World
ask us
economics.
any question, we'll know it without a doubt. All right, so let's get going. Let's get into, speaking of one of the ways that real estate agents fail is
Oh man.
lack of focus. So that is that's where a lot of real estate agents really fall flat on their face. So starting out, lack of focus is one of those things that we find ourselves, and we're going to include ourselves in this
Yeah.
in this fight as well. We
Yeah.
have similar struggles in because we're in similar businesses. So focus is something that it I feel like it's human nature that for us to kind of go on different things. Either we get really juiced, we get energized and try to go after one thing, but then we quickly see something else and we go chase it. So in the real estate world, whenever we have conversations, it's either I want to launch Facebook ads. Okay, cool. We can, both Joseph and I can absolutely nail those down. No problem. No questions asked. We're highly effective at that. But correct me if I'm wrong, Joseph, really want the conversations that come after that, after we have our plan, after we launch some ads, after we follow our respective onboarding systems. The next conversation is, all right, now let's do Google ads. Now let's do some YouTube ads. Now let's do direct mail. Now let's get a billboard. So
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I know I'm kind of minimizing or satirizing what happens, but effectively that's what happens.
That is exactly what happens. And then my first question is, how many leads did you follow up from the first process?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I think will be part of the conversation as we continue. But yes, most agents get this shiny object syndrome quite often, as a lot of business owners do, unless they're very focused on a specific type of business that they only do, right? Real estate agents are thrown things in front of them all the time. And with that, they also get to use that as an excuse. Well, um, you know, this company reached out to me. This company reached out to me. This local company reached out to me. This company reached out to me. I had to spend money there. I wanted to try it. They told me these numbers. And so agents, honestly, I think they probably every month try something new, right? And if you listen to any of the top agents, and I'm not saying I'm a top agent because I don't sell real estate anymore, I do referrals, but if you listen to any of the top agents, what they tell you is you need to have three things and stick with those three things consistently for 90 days at a minimum to see if they're going to work. And the majority of new agents, and probably a lot of senior agents who have not cracked the code on actually making a lot of money, switch things every single month. And so, yes, I would agree with you, Jaime. It's always, what can I do next that is not in the same realm of what I'm currently doing, right? And that leads to a lot of people being really not good at a lot of things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think with focus, I think that really, I mean, we just encapsulated everything. So for us to stay on focus, we're actually going to go to the next way, the next way. And I want you to share it, Joseph, because I think it was so powerful. And it really, even before you get to that focus stage, I think we need to hear this collectively.
What part did you want me to share?
The part
I want to make sure.
about being in business,
Let's
really
see.
should not go ahead.
Well, I want to make sure that I'm on the same page as you. But yes, a lot of agents get into the business and think that they want to be real estate agents, but they haven't done any research on actually being a real estate agent. They have no idea how much it's going to cost to be a real estate agent. They have no idea what they have to do to actually be a real estate agent. So, well, oftentimes in these Facebook groups that we're a part of, and I'm sure in other places as well that Jaime goes to, as far as like Clubhouse and these different locations where agents are talking, or agents that shouldn't be agents, which is kind of part of this conversation. A lot of people get this idea that, hey, I'm going to go be a real estate agent. I'm going to become this, rich, successful person because that's what I see. And a lot of agents probably shouldn't be agents, right? And I don't want to shoot people down. That's not my goal here. But if you're not doing enough research to actually know what you're going into, and then you start complaining about the fees, which we were talking about earlier, you didn't do enough research to know that that was part of the business, right? You've got to pay these fees, you got to do these things. Most people go get their license and they only focus on getting the license, and they put to the side what actually makes you money and what you actually have to do in order to get to that point. And there are fees to play this game. And so, yeah, in my honest, humble opinion, a lot of people who get their license shouldn't be real estate agents unless they've done the research, because they're getting into the game with a unqualified roadmap. Their roadmap is $0 to $100,000 in their brain, right? Not 0 to, oh, I need to generate leads. Oh, I've got to pay my board fees. Oh, I need to follow up with my leads. I need to have a CRM, whether it's a notepad or electronic. I need to be able to go talk to people on a one-to-one basis and let them know how important they are to me. I need to build these relationships, like all these things that are really important to the business. Most people have no idea before they get started, which is really a strange thing, because if you're going to start a restaurant, if you're going to write a book, if you're going to start any other type of business, you do some type of research on the business, and it's not the money that's driving you. So the interesting thing about this is a lot of people get in, they start making money, and they're like, it was never about the money for me. It's like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was about the money for you. So I think a lot of people fail because they have 0 to 100,000 in their mind and not step 1 through 100, right?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's perfect. And we were talking about it before the call and before the actual recording. We share this not to bash. We share this not to be negative Nellies. We share this because we're investing our time in you, whether you realize it or not, regardless of what you think of the information, this is time invested on you. We're not selling you anything. We're not trying to do any of that. So understand kind of where we're coming from, because again, the same way that we share the similarities in what's going to be successful for you, we want to share some downsides. So we share this in the most humblest way. We share this in including ourselves in many capacities of where our blind spots are. But going back to that point of coming into the business without a plan, that's a great way to leave the business in a year, 2 years, 3 years. Now, there's an element of faith, of course. There's an element of I'm going to believe in myself. I may not know everything. No one's asking you to know everything, but having a basic understanding of how real estate works is very advisable, especially because there's so many resources out there. If we were talking about 15 years ago where there were limited resources, the blogs weren't out there, the YouTube videos weren't out there, the podcasts weren't out there, the information wasn't out there. You just had to go based off of your realtor that was encouraging, hey, you're fantastic. You should probably be a realtor and you should come and work with us. If that was your only understanding of the business, then yeah, maybe we can grant you that. But now when information is bountiful, just plenty, having that basic understanding of what's going on is necessary. And to give you a resource, you mentioned such a great example going into a restaurant. Well, typically restaurateurs and really anybody that goes into another business that's not real estate, because real estate's not that capital intensive to get started in, they're going to get a loan. And many of them start off with what's called an SBA loan, which is a loan by the government, where you have to present a business plan. And a great resource for anybody out there, either getting into the business or even already in the business, as a good reset as you're trying to get to that next level, is go to sba.gov. So S as in Sam, B as in boy, A as in association.gov. They have a lot of resources where they'll give you templates for business plans. They'll give you templates that you'll need. They'll give you considerations. How are you going to market? How are you going to follow up? How are you going to do X? How are you going to do Y? Where you know, so it gives you some blind spots that you may be missing if you're not experienced in it. So we wanted to give you that resource because it helps. Back in my day when I was doing business brokeraging, helping business owners sell, that was a big resource that I would give the actual business owners that were already in the business. as they were looking to sell their business. And we really couldn't help them at that point in time because their financials were in a mess. They were the business. They were a solopreneur instead of a business owner. So I wanted to throw that out there before we moved on.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jaime. And I hope agents understand whenever we're talking about this subject, I feel like a lot of people who create videos or information about why agents fail typically create it as a fear thing to get clicks, right? And I hope what people are gathering from this is we're telling you how agents fail so that you can avoid those pitfalls. And a lot of people don't do it that way. They do it where agents are terrible, they suck, they all these different things. We want to show you that, hey, it may not all be your fault. And there are resources that you can go and apply so that these things that we're talking about, you don't become them. And if you take the information and you truly utilize it and write down these things that we're talking about, you can be like, okay, yes, I'm doing this right now. This is an error that I am doing. I am changing a marketing strategy every single month. I am only in it for the money. I am not building relationships. I am not following up my leads. Like if you're saying yes to all these things, I can tell you right now, that cliff that is called failure, you're getting closer and closer to it. So we hope that this particular podcast, and if you're watching this on YouTube, is something that helps you say, oh yeah, I'm doing those things. Let me start going this way. There's a book, Jaime, that is called The Slight Edge. I don't have, it's in one of my bags here. I'm unpacking this new office. I've been unpacking this new office for like a month, right? I don't focus on this stuff. I focus on business, but in The Slight Edge, it has two things. I'll use my pens for illustration for those of you on YouTube. It's you're never going straight, right? You're either doing daily activities that cause you to go down, and they're small activities each and every day until you hit the point of failure, and you don't know that you're doing these things. And so again, I hope this podcast helps people. Or you're doing positive things, right? And so you're either doing this, going up, or you're going down every single day. And one of the analogies they use is somebody who wants to lose weight, right? Every single day, a person who is thinking that they want to lose weight is actually doing the opposite sometimes, which is eating more, sitting at home, not going on long walks, not going on runs. The person who really wants to be successful is doing the positive things, the slight edge, and they are going on walks, they're watching their calories, and they're going on runs, they're doing it 3 times a week. And that person who's just doing something 3 times a week is so much further ahead. It's not that the person who's not doing anything is flatline. The person who's not doing anything is actually going this way and getting further and further away from the goal. And the person who's actually going to exercise 3 times a week is getting closer and closer to the goal. There's another, I think it's another, if I'm not mistaken, it's a Chinese or Japanese saying that says, if you're going on the right path, you will eventually get there, right? And so we hope that we put you on the right path whenever we're doing this particular podcast, because a lot of you may be going on the wrong path and not realizing it as we talk about these things.
Yeah, no, that's so good. That is so good. I like that illustration of, you're doing to the point of failure. You're doing these things. They just stand up. They add up. We see it in our daily lives, not just the business side. You don't eventually get to 100 pounds overweight. It doesn't just happen overnight. It happens with, this habit. And then boom, you wake up and you realize, oh crap, I'm 100 pounds overweight right now. So it's those daily habits that lead to that point. That's a great illustration.
Yeah. And the other thing, the other way to look at it too, right? It's not just that failure part. Is we all see people that, if you're a common person that doesn't think about business the right way, you're like, man, that person became an overnight success. A lot of the people that come on Jaime's YouTube and do the Tuesday calls or whatever day Jaime does his calls, a lot of people see them as overnight successes, and they forget that, for example, the last person he had on his call, he can tell you who the person is. They forget that he knocked doors for 5 years straight or whatever he did, right? And never quit. But every single day that he did that got him to $100,000 a month, right? And so now he's at $100,000 a month, and people are like, man, he must have the right personality and looks good and all this other stuff. It's like, no, a person just did something every single day. Excuse our water drainage here does that sometimes in our building. But he did something every single day to make sure that he was going the right direction. Imagine if he knocked on doors for 30 days or 60 days and quit, right? So I want you guys to have that thought in your mind. If I do these things for longer than 60, 90 days, if I did them for 5 years, I continue on the right path, what would my outcome be? If I didn't do those things for the next 5 years, what will my outcome be? You probably won't make it for 5 years in real estate. So just a thought as far as like the positive side of what that looks like. There's no overnight success unless you win the lottery or your parents go and leave you money because they're gone. That's still not success. That doesn't feel good either.
Yeah. So the individual that Joseph was alluding to is Brian Casella. He's the first real estate agent that hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. So he's the OG, as I call him. So he's the godfather of the YouTube realtors out there. So I've we've formed a friendship. So he's somebody that's just absolutely crushing it. He's been on my show several times now, and I mean, whenever I need a favor, he's always there. So absolutely earning it every single day. Well, speaking of earning it every single day, this was going to be kind of like a twofer on the things that are, common things that are causing this failure. And that's really trying to boil the ocean. We kind of already talked about it, but when you're trying to boil the ocean, you're going into so many different things. And instead of picking your lane, picking the lanes that you want to. So Joseph mentioned 3 strategies, or focus on 3 strategies and go deep with those. Well, when you go deep with those, a big element that comes along with that is nurturing, following up. That's something that we, including ourselves here, we are not that good at. And we can always be better. Even if we think that we are good, we have dialed it in. We're sending a weekly email. We're calling every month. We're sending postcards every month. We are being as active as we can be. We can always do better. So following up and nurturing is incredibly important. We all love that low hanging fruit. We all love running that ad and calling them that first time. They want to show us, they want to see a house, so they want to list the home with you immediately. That's great. Those are few far in between, and we know that. So nurturing, at the end of the day, the core element of really anything that you're doing, regardless of all the marketing strategies that you have, nurturing or the lack thereof is going to put you out of business. So the lack of nurturing is going to put you out of business when it doesn't need to. You may be thinking, I'm in a new market. I don't know anybody. Well, that could be true. You may be in a new market. You may not know anybody, but there are ways to form relationships. At the end of the day, the people that you knew in California, well, you can meet new people in Florida. And the beauty of your line of work, you as a real estate agent, is that your real estate license still gives you an opportunity to get referral fees from California. So if you built this little community, this client base in California, you can still benefit from those relationships. So Joseph does a ton of referrals for his business. I do a ton of referrals for my business. And we may not be actively showing houses. We may not be actively doing that, but we're still in the real estate space and profiting pretty handsomely from it.
I mean, so the thing that I was gathering from that, as you were talking about understanding, boiling the ocean and being more positive about what's going on and your focus, is mindset shift, right? A lot of agents will come into the game with this mindset that they deserve something, right? Without putting in the work. They'll come into the business with a negative attitude about, or get the negative attitude from other people. I call this, some people will call it water cooler talk, or I'll call it, because I used to be a former school teacher, lounge room talk, right? The teacher's lounge. And so I'll give you guys kind of an analogy for this. And a lady who's, I'm pretty sure she's passed away at this point, and she was a fantastic teacher, teaching teachers how to become better educators. And she said, your first year of teaching, do not go into the lounge room to have your lunch. Eat your lunch in your classroom. And that rang so true. And the reason she said that was because other people's negative ideas about a student are going to become your ideas about a student. And you're not giving that student the opportunity to be who they could possibly be because you believe that they're a bad kid because this teacher said they're a bad kid or this teacher said they're a bad kid. And I can tell you guys, I ate lunch in the lounge probably maybe 10 times in my 5 years of teaching because what she said was very true. And so the same thing holds true for real estate. If you let other agents tell you all the bad things that are out there, and it may not have worked for them because they were probably bad at follow up, because they probably never picked up a phone, because they probably expected everybody to send them referrals, then that's going to weigh on you and the way that you think, and you're going to become a jaded person or a jaded real estate professional. And you've got to start opening up your mind to opportunities on how to be successful and looking at things from a different lens than everybody else. I can tell you my first year in real estate, I came up with so many different ideas because I would not sit with other young agents. I did that intentionally because they came in and they were learning from people who were not successful. And so what I did was I was like, all right, who are the highest earners in our office? Right. And the highest earner in our office was earning $500,000 a year in real estate, right? Selling real estate. I was like, hey, I'd like to take you for lunch. I don't have a lot to offer you. I know how to do marketing on Facebook. I know how to do social media. I can, offer that and I'll pay for your lunch. I don't care what day it is, if it's this month or next month, but I want to do it in the next 60 days. He was like, how about next week? Done. Right. And so I implore you to look for these type of people. Now, not everybody's going to be willing to help you. You have to keep that in mind, and that's okay. Look for the next person on the pole. Look for the next person down on the pole, right? And they're still earning more money than you. So you want to sit with the people who have great results and are making great living so that you can emulate what they're doing and start changing your mindset to that type of mindset. And I think if you ask any of the successful agents out there, they'll probably tell you I did it all on my own because they probably forgot that they learned from somebody else that was really good, right? And so I think new agents that are coming in, if you want to be successful and you don't want to fail, you do want to look for somebody that is, we'll call it a mentor if you want to, but somebody to tell you the secrets, right? And I'll give you a prime example of the secret this guy gave me. He said, everybody else goes after the same business. I focus on one thing and one thing only. That's 1 acre properties and above because they sell for more money and the people are easier to deal with. And it was the opposite of what everybody else was doing. Everybody else was, I want the highest price house. I want, $250,000 houses, or I want just whatever's going to come to me. He was like, my focus shifted to 1 acre plus properties, and knew what that was. I never left that focus. And that's why he makes $500,000 a year. And so whenever you get around people who give you those tips, they should sink into your brain and never leave your brain. So if I ever go sell real estate again, and I'm in another place, guess what I'm going to focus on? Or whenever he retires, because he's supposed to be retiring in the next 5 years. If I happen to move back, that's what I'm going to focus on because I know that's where the business is. And that genius expert who put all the time in taught me that, right?
That is ideal. I mean, that is spot on. The one thing that, as transitioning into another point that we wanted to cover, which is really right in line with exactly what you're talking about, Joseph, is when you're in real estate, we've already talked about, that shiny object syndrome. We've talked about nurturing, which is a follow-up. We've talked about a lot of those different things that really at the end of the day don't work. But more than that, oftentimes we find ourselves focusing on the wrong things, as opposed to saying it just one way that you've most likely heard it, which is prospect is the only thing that's important in your business. We're just going to call it revenue generating activities. Now that's my preferred way of saying it, where we sometimes get so mired in the font, in the color, in the extra stuff that really won't make a difference at the end of the day. We focus so much of our time, energy, efforts on making this one little flyer that's only going to happen within the staff, within your internal team. And, there's a good thing there. It's good that you're trying to communicate effectively with your own internal team, but at the end of the day, that didn't make you money. You could have easily called every single person. Hey, Joseph, this is what we're doing today. I'm just going to send you a quick DM so you see what we covered. Hey, Blake and Blake, this is what we're going to do, blah, 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 blah. Hey, Blake and Blake, you get that done in 10 minutes as opposed to going over to Canva, trying to get this little diagram going. And I say this more for myself. But if a lot of you analytical people, a lot of you perfectionists out there, which I call myself all that time, even though I'm moving myself away from labels, we're like that. Joseph can relate to it a little bit, but Joseph and I are different in the sense of Joseph is more focused on, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that, after a year of doing this together, Joseph is more focused on revenue generating activities, going out and making more money. I'm more of the kind of how can we save a bit more money? How we're effectively increasing the bottom line, but Joseph has a different philosophy where he's interested more in generating the revenue. I'm more interested in reducing the cost. At the end of the day, the net is the same, but I would much rather have the mentality that Joseph has, where if I need to make money, I either introduce a new program, I do more direct prospecting, I do more marketing, I do X, Y, and Z. I'm more of I'm going to look at this profit and loss statement, which I do every single month, and see where could I have cut some costs, where could I have automated, where am I losing money from that perspective. So long story short, focus on revenue generating activities. For us, if you're a cold caller, do more cold calling. If you're a door knocker, go to that extra block when you feel like quitting. If you're a YouTuber, put more content out there or improve the content that you have. If you're a TikToker, get more TikToks out there. Whatever it is that you're doing in your business, do more of. And if you're not focusing on any one of those at any point in time, you're just waiting for the phone call to come through, then I encourage you to find some active ways of prospecting or active ways of bringing in business and focus on those revenue generating activities.
I love it. Yeah, I absolutely love that. Here's a secret for everybody that's watching or listening. I don't have a website. I don't have I think, Jaime, your picture just went off, by the way. But I don't have a website. Your video just went off.
Oh, let me fix that. But keep going.
Yeah, so I don't have a website, and the amount of revenue that we generated without me having a website would blow a lot of people's minds. Every day I get a question, hey, do you have a website? The answer is always no, we don't have a website, because I build personal relationships with the people that I want to work with, meaning that you have my text, you have my phone number, you have my Facebook Messenger, and you have my email if you really need to get a hold of me. And that's all I say. And it never comes up again, right? And so this idea of having this perfect website and having these perfect things is built in, I think, from website companies or people who sell these things. And it's instilled into agents to believe that this is how they should think. And so here's what I would tell you as a real estate agent. Every month, you send out probably a newsletter, and that's okay. You should have that, definitely. But what I would also do is, if I'm farming a market, or if I have a list of agents or list of people who are thinking about selling, is every month or every 2 weeks, I'm going to go into their neighborhood and I'm going to see what homes have sold, right? And every week I'm going to send them a personal video that says, hey, Sally, it's Joseph with Pure Realty. You know who I am. This is your bi-weekly update on what houses have sold in your market. I know you wanted me to keep you up to date on that. Also, here's a look at your the price of your home, so you know what your house is valued at this in this bi-weekly message. Let me know if you have any questions, or if there's anything I can help you with, if you need any connections for anything for your house. Boom, done. Next person. Hey, Frank, this is Joseph. Your bi-weekly message I'm sending you via text here. Wanted to update you on the houses that have sold in your market. Also let you know your house has gone up in value or down in value. And also let me know if there's anything I can help you with, if there's any connections that I can put you in contact with to help with whatever you need around your house, right? Every single person And so a lot of agents are like, man, that takes too much time. If you don't have any money, all you have is time, people. And so I want to be very clear in that. A lot of agents mistake this. I don't have money and I'm going to go spend more of the money I don't have versus spending more of the time that I do have to do these things that are, as Jaime stated, revenue generating activities or money making activities. And you can go without having a perfect website if you know how to communicate with people. And I can guarantee you, if you talk to some of the really, really strong agents, actually, I was just sending a message with one of the agents who Jaime and I were talking about before this, who does 5 deals a month. She was talking about another agent who I actually met my first year in real estate. And she gave me a tip that was like mind blowing at the time. This was, I guess, almost 5 years ago, maybe now. And the tip was I create a VIP Facebook group for people that I want to work with or that I have worked with. These people get to see who I am. I put my newsletter in there. That's how I do business. And if I told you this person's name, your mind would be blown as well because they crush it. They're with EXP as well. And Jaime and I'll talk about who the person is. But my first year, whenever she told me that, you know how many people I taught in my office that did not do that, by the way? The number is 100. If you've had 100 past clients, and you can start doing this if you don't have a lot of clients now, you can start, building your base because you can say, hey, invite your friends, invite your family. I'm going to put gift cards in this group, so forth and so on. But if you get to 100 past clients, you should never have to generate business again if you're nurturing them. And so these are what we're talking about, not having a perfect website, not having the perfect colors, not having these perfect things that are taking up your time to actually go and do the things that you really need to do to generate money, which is money making activities and talking to people and understanding how to nurture those relationships.
That is, I mean, I feel that should have been our dismount, but we got some time to fill.
Well, here's the thing, right? I think if you don't want to fail, really value other people's time and value other people's relationships with you, right? As a business owner, and make the relationship about them and not about you. What do they need? What support do they need? What do they want? And how can you fulfill that for them as a real estate professional? And if you can start thinking that way instead of thinking about the money making activities will lead you to the money. Very simple, right? Very simple. Revenue generating activities will lead you to the revenue. But too many people focus on these little minutia, right, activities because they're scared to actually start building relationships because they're scared people are not going to like them. Reality is you're going to have very few people who don't like you unless you're just a jerk, right? And most people are going to like you. So I want you to really think about that as you're listening to this or you're watching this. Most people will like you if you allow them to like you. You also have to start liking yourself. And if you can start doing that, you'll start seeing like these things become super easy. Like me, my team sends out, I think it's between 60 to 100 messages a day, right? Of that, it's probably about a 20% response rate, maybe a little bit higher. And then we have people that trickle in throughout the month. And that has brought in over 100 clients in like less than 40 days, right? And so if you guys really start thinking about that as lenders, as real estate agents that listen to the podcast or that watch this, if you think about how many messages we're sending out, that's a heck of a lot of messages. And do you think we care if anybody doesn't like us? No, we don't. We only care about the people who do like us because they're going to work with us. So you have to really start thinking that way. Who's going to like me? Doesn't matter. The right people will like me and they'll work with me.
100%. Everyone has their tribe for sure. Another thing that we wanted to cover as we're going through, again, just a quick reset. If you're listening to us on the podcast, the Agent Lead Source podcast, if you're on Apple, a 5-star review is going to go a long way. Any other platform, I believe there are some rating systems. I'm just not aware of them. So if you can let us know, that would be awesome. If you are hanging out with us in a live setting, so we go live on our Facebook group and we go live on the YouTube channel, there will be linked down below. Make sure you hit that like button so the notifications go out that we are live. So just a reminder there. Something that you mentioned a couple of minutes ago really resonated with me, and the importance of how can I say this? It's not going to come off right. So I just better move on to the next point. um, you would think that it's my evening and your morning because you're firing on all cylinders. I am not. Now,
My battery's draining pretty quickly, though. I can tell you that for sure.
one of the things that, again, we're sharing more, I guess we're more projecting in some cases because I am very much projecting right here. Where one of the biggest things that one of the biggest reasons that real estate agents fail is because we don't know our numbers. We really don't know our numbers. Now, in my line of work now, it's a little bit different. My numbers are a little bit different. I can tell you sure as sugar that I don't know my numbers there right now. And it's a call that I had with a really mega team leader here in Dallas Fort Worth. They sell hundreds upon hundreds of homes every single year. So one of the biggest groups here in Dallas Fort Worth. And the specificity that this individual shared, it was just astounding. He knew exactly where the business was coming from. He knew how many were coming in from open houses. He knew the conversion rates there. He understood all the online leads that were coming through. He knew the conversion rates. He knew what his events were converting at. So he throws these massive events where he invites his tribe, his VIPers, and then friends and family. He knows those conversion rates, how many referrals he's pulling out from those groups. So as I mentioned, sure as sugar, I don't have those numbers for my line of work. And that's something that he and I are actively working on together, because just what we're doing is a little bit different, but it's really one and the same. How many people are you speaking to? How many conversations went on to another level? Where's the drop off? Where are you getting these conversations from? How are they finding you? So you can double down. So there's no reason for you to continue doing, let's just say an example, if you are religious about creating a blog every single day, well, if you can never track back business to that blog, you need to reassess what you're doing. So either your blog sucks and it's not getting any traction, we'll improve your blog. Give it a good chance of succeeding. If you have a pretty good blog and it just doesn't feel like it's getting any leads and it's not getting any leads, then cut it out, focus on something else. But that determination, oftentimes when we decide to stop doing something, it's out of frustration, out of burnout, out of an emotional state that has no basis on reality. I don't like making YouTube videos a majority of the week, but I do them because I understand who butters my bread, right? So it's that understanding of, I at least know where my business is coming from, so I know where to double down. But if I let emotions take over, I wouldn't have shot a video like 6 months ago. So just understanding your numbers.
Yeah, if new agents come in and they start writing down their numbers, it's a really hard thing to grasp when you get started, because you have all these other things that you're focusing on. But if you really dumb down the business, if you will, if you really strip down the business to what it is at its heart, is leads in, follow up, appointments, contracts, right? And then now you're saying, okay, where are my leads coming from? How many of those leads are converting? Which ones are getting me to appointments, and how many appointments does it take me to get to a contract? And you start breaking your business down into those sections with your 3 pillars that are your strong pillars, whether it's Facebook ads, YouTube videos, Instagram, cold calling, door knocking, pop buys, whatever that thing is, those 3 things that are your strong points. If you can break those numbers down, you'll start to really get to see, as Jaime stated and this other person stated, what your business looks like. So I'll give you all a reality check for me. I sat down with my wife, who's an expert at Excel. She works for a large corporation and they run a lot of their stuff through Excel. And I said, here's what I'm thinking about doing with my business. Here's where we were last year. I think we can possibly 5X. And she was like, wait, Mr. Big Thinker, let's really take a look at this process, right? And so we broke everything down. And she was like, I think you can actually probably more than 5X this, right? Based on the numbers that you're telling me. And so on my whiteboard over here, I've got specific numbers. How many agents do we need each month? How many agents do we need to help close deals? Because that's the only way we get paid. And what do we think that conversion rate will be? And then we'll check every month. So I'll give you guys a realistic example. I know that every month I need to add 48 agents to our program. Of those 48 agents, by the month of October, end of October, we need to have 20% of them converting into listing appointments and closed deals, right? And if that happens and consistently happens throughout the year, I'm not going to tell you what the number will be, but let's just say it's enough to have a private flight everywhere that I want to go to, right? And those are realistic numbers. But I wouldn't have known that if I didn't dive into what my numbers are and have been in the past. And then beyond that, I have VAs who send me numbers every single day. How many outreaches have we done? What are those? What are the results of those outreaches? How many people have responded? Who has not responded? Why did this person respond? Why are they working with? Why is this person not responding to us? So we have numbers for all of this, right? So we had a call last night. It was an hour and a half call going over numbers. So be prepared every week or every 2 weeks to go over your numbers for an hour and a half to 2 hours by yourself if you don't have a partner to look at your numbers. And if you can do that, I know it's a pain in the butt, but you will know everything about your business that most people don't know, which is behind the scenes, what the numbers look like. How many hours am I spending at my computer? What the heck am I doing at my computer, right? How many hours am I spending on the phone? Who the heck am I talking to on the phones? Like these things that Jaime is telling you about are the things that the mega boss agents are doing in their business. It's not a huge thing, but it is a time commitment. And most people are not willing to commit that time to actually make that work. And if you can do that, your mind will be blown because it's going to tell you what you're doing wrong. It's going to tell you what you're doing right, which leads to another point, which is most people don't want to know what they're doing wrong because they have to look in the mirror and face that. But if you can face that, stand in the front of the mirror and say, hey, I suck right now at this particular thing. I need to get better at it. And you get better at it. That's all it comes down to is you're better at it and you keep getting better and better every month.
Thank you for sharing that. I know that's personal information, but again, it goes back into one, you're running a business, same way as everyone that's listening to this. And two, just having that transparency. Again, we're not trying to sell you anything, and we're right there in the trenches with you in a different capacity, working on the same, working in the same industry. So thank you for sharing that. So that inspired me to share something in a very, certainly not to that level, but it goes back based off of we do the best that we possibly can to do exactly what we're saying. So this isn't pie in the sky stuff. This is not theory. This is not, well, maybe this will work. So let's just share this with, no, I mean, you get plenty of that on our competitor podcast.
This is real action. Yeah.
This is real life.
This is daily life. Yeah.
This is real life for sure. So, so in a very micro level, I went back to our Trello board where do you manage what's your project management tool? I forget.
Yeah, we use Asana for all of our projects.
Asana. Awesome. So
very similar. Yeah, very similar.
Very similar. So I use Trello and let them know that they need to sponsor this podcast because we're giving them free shout outs. I forgot that we're not supposed to do that. Pat's going to kill us. Pat's our producer, by the way. So when it comes to, so we had a LinkedIn strategy that we wanted to deploy in our business. And we were just testing it out. So I had our virtual assistants deploy it. And then just when it came to measuring its effectiveness, should we continue going? For our particular results, we sent out 115 cold call messages with a wording. And then we were getting a 13% response rate is what we got here, which I didn't have a benchmark. That was another. Then we sent another 150 cold call messages or cold messages, not cold call. And there it was 21%. Yeah, 21%. So is it scientific? Probably not. We could have, reduced some different variables, but it was our way of improving our message. It was our way of enhancing what we wanted to. We could continue doing the same thing over and over and over again and thinking that that was the best that we could do, which in reality we could not. So now, once we had that split test, we're going to send out some additional messages and really deploy it, really expand it and really blow it open from there. So it's understanding those messages on where you need to pivot, where you need to lean in, where you kind of need to maybe back off a bit in a very minor scale. I just wanted to share that with you because it's LinkedIn is something I've been playing around with in the past 2 months. And I'm over the moon with the results so far in terms of response rate and actual conversion. So that's how we're using numbers.
I love it. If you're watching this on YouTube, by the way, be sure to let us know if you know what your conversion rate is on any of your business, right? Like the fact that Jaime knows that, I'm very impressed that you know that, Jaime. And I'm sure that was very intentional after you've learned what you've learned, right? And over the years. If you're a new agent, if you can start learning this type of stuff that we're talking about, where we're saying, okay, here's what our conversion rate is, where's the drop off, why is somebody not responding to this message, why don't we have a second message out to this person, why don't we ask them, hey, what's holding you back? Like these type of questions, and understanding, okay, every facet of my business is a metric that it can be tracked. Just about every single thing that you do in your business can be tracked. Whether you want to track it or not, that's up to you. And if it is part of your money-making activities, it needs to be tracked so that you know exactly what's happening, right? So I'll give another example since Jaime shared something, and I love sharing things because that's just my nature. This week or last week, my team, and this week they're finishing up, is tracking how many leads we generated for each agent, the number of home valuations that were sent, because we do mainly listing leads, number of in-face appointments, and number of possible contracts that are coming up. Guess what that does for me now? That allows me to go in, look at all of the numbers, see how big a market is, what the average price point of the home is, and then say, okay, here's where we're performing the best as a company, as a lead generation company. Let's go look for other markets that match this particular criteria. And these are the type of agents we're going to be going after, because this is where we perform the best. And our goal is to help them win. And once we know those metrics, especially after 90 days, so we're only 30 days into this particular project, we'll be able to dial this in so well that if there's any fall off anywhere, we should know what's happening, right? Is it because they don't like the way the ad looks? Is it the text in the ad? Is it the response, the initial response? Like everything, we'll know within 90 days exactly what's going on across all the markets that we're going to be in, because they'll be very similar. And same thing for you. Like if you know who you resonate best with and you connect with them, they're, you know, the engineer, they're a school teacher, they're a nurse, they're whatever other type of opportunity that's out there they work in, then you'll start really understanding the type of people that you should be going after, because that you match really well with. And if you happen to land a doctor here and there, that's just a bonus check for you, right? Or maybe you only work with doctors. I don't know, right?
That could be your niche. That could be your niche. The as far, I know we kind of got a little bit in the space in the heady space, but I think that it's much needed. As we are getting ready for the dismount, we wanted to hit you with some practical things, because you hear this last point, especially you hear know your numbers, understand your numbers. You don't have to be very dialed in right now. It's not necessary. Sure, it'd be awesome, but you just need to start. So just give you some pointers out if you're trying to get started in understanding your business, understanding how you work with your business, understanding where things are going. At the bare minimum, get yourself a QuickBooks. QuickBooks are not that expensive, or if you don't want to do a QuickBooks, which is like $15 a month, get an Excel sheet. Understand where your expenses are going, understand where you're spending money, understand the revenue coming in. So you don't want to get squeezed on a cash flow. And I'll be honest, it almost happened with me today in terms of, I didn't realize, it's going to sound super obnoxious, but I'll share it. I didn't realize how much money I made last year. So I underestimated how much taxes I had to pay.
That's always fun.
So I find myself getting squeezed out of my own company. But the
Oh
cash
yeah.
flow, it's in terms of that account, I could always bring in some. This is gonna sound so obnoxious, but I have the money. It's just I don't have it from that particular account. So that pissed me off. So
Yeah.
motivator to be a little bit better at tracking, be a little bit more cognizant of increasing the cash flow. And we're making some adjustments there. Point of the story, QuickBooks, get that going. Also, get a time tracking either app or just write something down. Why don't you just write it down? I suggest either do an Excel sheet. Find a place that you can warehouse how many hours you're spending in your business and on your business both. Because we're in real estate, and it's very easy for us to say, oh, we work 24/7. We really do not. Let's get that straight. We may work in spurts. We may send back a text while we're at dinner. Okay, so if you're going to get that molecular and count that, then you're interesting. But anyway, so back to the story. Get yourself a QuickBooks to see where money is coming out, where it's coming out from and where it's coming in, and also track your time. So at the end of the month, you see your expenses, you see how much time, how much money is coming in, and you also see how many hours you put in the real estate business. If you find yourself at 80 hours, which is typically part-time, 80 hours a month, then and you're getting a certain amount of income, well, it stands to reason that if you continue doing that, then there should be at least if not stabilized, a little bit of a tracking up in income. But if you find yourself 80 at a part-time level, and then you just find yourself going back to that point of failure, then there's something that needs to change in your business. So 2 easy entry points: get yourself a QuickBooks and log where your money is going and when it's coming in. So you have a number of income versus expenses at the end of the month. And then also you have a log of your personal time of, I didn't really make that much money this last 3 months. Don't just look at it in real estate. Don't just look at it from a 1 month perspective. Look at it in a 3 month perspective, because we understand that once you put somebody in a contract, it's not always going to close in that month. So you need to have that understanding. But if you start tracking that in the past 3 months, your income isn't really where you want it to be, and you notice that you're actually spending less time in your business, then there's your answer.
Good stuff. Yeah, I think knowing where your money, another story for you guys that'll make most of you throw up. And again, not to be obnoxious, right? I hope it's like whenever we say that, the first thing that most people can think is this is very obnoxious.
Yeah,
but
he's about to be obnoxious.
Yeah. Last year alone, and our profit loss, because as Jaime already told you, I don't look at the profit and loss as much detail as probably Jaime does. I know I don't actually. But I look at our profit like every month. I look at the revenue, right? And so last year, my wife was helping me go over our numbers and looking at the structure that we're moving into and making sure it was a good idea. She was like, "What's that button?" And I clicked on it. I was like, "Oh." She was like, "That says minus $41,000." And I was like, "Yeah, that statement says that's what we should have collected from some agents that we didn't collect money from, right?" So last year we missed out on $41,000 that I should have collected from agents. And so make sure that you're tracking your profit and loss specifically as a real estate agent, because I have a feeling most of you cannot afford to lose $41,000 in your business. The other thing that I would ask you to do is look at your leads. Of course, they're human beings and you need to build relationships with them, but look at each of them as the average price of a house sold in your market. And that'll let you know how important each conversation is that you're having. And I feel like a lot of people will not think about it that way. So if you have 200 leads and your average price point is 200,000, 200 times 200,000, you come up with a math that's worth a lot of freaking money. Each conversation is, right? It's a $200,000 conversation. Another thing that you can do if you really want to really hold yourself accountable, we use a thing called Screen Share Monitor. Screen Share Monitor allows you to record every 2 to 15 seconds, I think it is, of what's going on your own monitor, or if you have a team member so that you're tracking their hours or whatever have you. If you want to throw up about how much time you waste on your computer, download Screen Share Monitor onto your computer. It comes on whenever you turn on your computer. At the end of the day, go review what you did and see how many hours you really worked. And see, I think the statement was, would you fire yourself? And if your answer is yes, I would fire myself, you need to fire yourself and recreate whoever you are and want to be, right? And so I hope that's helpful to some of you to really think about your numbers and think about exactly who you want to be, and if you would fire yourself today if you were to go back and look at your Screen Share Monitor.
Bam, I'm fired already. I don't even need to download that. It's going to be fun. Next episode, Joseph is going to pull all his accounts receivable of agents that didn't pay, and I'm going to pull mine up, and then we're just going to call y'all out. So
man.
I'm not going to say I was about to say their name. No, so there's one that comes to mind, but there's
I've got at $41,000. There's a lot that come to mind on mine. They're whenever agent says you only do this for the money, I'm like, buddy, if I only did it for the money, there'd be $41,000 more in my bank account. So that is not the case.
Yeah, no. And what's funny is that when you see them on Facebook touting their vacation, their whatever, this could go sour. So one of the reasons that agents fail is because you don't pay your bills. You know who you are. I want to say their name, but anyway,
don't say their name.
We're not that type of people. But
pay your bills, real estate agents.
Pay your bills and pay our bills. Yeah. With that being said, let's do a quick dismount because we are at that time. For me, it's gonna be one of the silly ones. Pay your bills. Track your bit. Track your experience.
Keep it simple. Track everything. I think for me, as we do this dismount, it's track everything you possibly can. Track your money-making activities. Figure out what's working, what's not working. Stick to a plan for at least 90 to 180 days. Look at your calendar every single day and see if you did the things you're supposed to be doing. And all of a sudden, you'll magically start having appointments with people. It's kind of really simple. Leads in, follow up, nurture, set appointments, get the appointment, see if you get a contract, get to the next one. That's all you got to freaking do. And if you do that and stop playing with freaking colors and asking for what your picture should look like and all that other fun stuff that wastes your time because you're scared to do the work, you'll be successful.
Oh, you love those? As we wrap up, we actually have a legend in the house, Javier Vidania.
What up?
Got over 110,000 subscribers on YouTube. Professor Jaime, I don't have my homework ready. I'm sorry, is what he says. So I'm assuming he's alluding to the glasses, which I look pretty good. I mean, let's be real. I look pretty good.
Well, I thought if that was a serious statement, I was gonna say Javier is a pretty big dog, if I'm not mistaken. So I could see his homework being eaten, so he could probably say that as well.
Yeah. All righty. Well, Agent Resource Podcast, 5-star reviews are always welcome, encouraged. Get your 4 stars out of here. We don't want you even as a listener if you're going to give us a 4-star. 5-star reviews are all we ask for. That's our only payment. And also put in some work. Let us know if this is helping you. Feel free to connect with us. We want to hear from you. If you have any topic suggestions, always welcome to address what the community wants. Outside of that, we're going to see you next week. Bye.
Thanks, guys.